Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Angel of Words podcast. I know it's been a crazy month. Governors going after presidents going after mayors. It's been nuts, and I really just want to thank all the essential workers, all the people from the National Guard, the Marine Corps, the Army, everyone that's been pitching in and coming to New York to try to help us during this really dire pandemic that is just wiping away a lot of the population right now. And my sincerest condolences to anyone that's lost anyone throughout this coronavirus pandemic. It's nuts. But I just want you to know that you have to keep your head up and we have to just do what we have to do as individuals. Follow protocol that has been set and don't do anything that doesn't make sense. Keep yourself out of harm's way. Now, welcome to the podcast. Today, we will be releasing my interview with First Things First host on the Fox Sports Network, Mr. Nick Wright. I got the interview through Blue Magazine. Right now, currently, I am a correspondent for them. And I've been, working with the magazine over the last several years. Started as an intern to sports editor, now Blue correspondent. Shout out to my boy Devon and, George Jordan, who, they got together and actually got me this interview with someone who I highly respect. And I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of cats out there that hate on Mr. Nick Wright heavy. I remember the first time when I posted a pic of him and I on the gram, I had some dudes straight say, yo, I hate that dude. He's whack. Like, really, bro? Like, you hate somebody that you don't even know? Why? Is it because he looks geeky and he doesn't look like a sports person? I mean, what does a sports person look like anyway? To be completely honest with you, skinny men like sports, brolic dudes like sports. Sports is sports, bro. It's what brings men together, and get us, our blood's boiling, talking about, either pugilism or, anything that has to do with athleticism. It's just something that we do, And, I really hated the fact that I got, such negative vibes coming my way because of my boy, Nick Wright. And I just want to let you know the dude is an absolute beast. Probably top 3 commentators and actual host on any other sports network. This guy made me respect the game so much that is why I am doing what I am doing right now. Nick Wright motivated me to actually get my together and start my own thing. And the man has been a leader in his community for civil rights, if y'all didn't know that. He's an absolute beast, And just so y'all know, FYI, his wife is a woman of color, very radiant woman. And a lot of you haters will be surprised what my boy Nick Wright is pulling. You'll be real surprised, and you'll probably eat your words. But the man is always prepared. I know he's an uber LeBron fan. I enjoy MJ because, MJ crushed my heart so badly that he just made me a believer. LeBron I've always been a fan of, so I can't really, he's never really broken my heart like that, so to speak. But MJ has crushed it on so many occasions, I can't even remember how many occasions that Michael Jordan broke my heart. And that's where, Nick Wright and I differ. He's obviously we all know he's a big LeBron fan. But the man is always prepared. He has paid his dues. He has grinded hard. Has looked the haters in the face who have told him that he ain't no good at what he does. And he's made it, man. The dude's got his own show. Chris Carter left. Everybody thought it was over. Yo, he's been holding it down. And by the way, during this interview, I was in-house at Fox Studios. It was a face-to-face interview with Nick Wright. And we got to meet Chris Carter and Jenna Wolfe, who actually thought, because I had my beard and my braids back then. I mean, the braids, I don't know. But she thought I was DJ Khaled. We the best music. Another one. And Chris Carter was like, yo, that's not freaking DJ Khaled. Like, you bugging. Yo. But, Chris Carter was a high, he was just like a wild personality, man. Like, you could tell the dude was like just filled with energy. At that moment in time, it was Memorial Day that was coming up, and he was just trying to, get out of there. He obviously had plans to go have fun, but I was sad to see him go. And, because I really, I love Chris Carter. I thought him and Nick had a great camaraderie. They had a great dynamic. It made for great TV. Unfortunately, Fox, had to let Chris go. But I really enjoyed my time there interviewing him. And, Chris is a great guy. Jenna's a great gal. And Nick is an amazing guy. You know what I'm saying? An amazing guy who always preps himself for his work, a super professional, treated me with the utmost respect. Here you go, like this rinky-dink journalist, because that's what I think, that's what I thought about myself at the time. I'm in the room with someone that's doing exactly what I want to do, And the guy treated me with the utmost respect, and it's something that I will never forget. And have a lot of respect for Nick Wright. So I hope you enjoy the interview. It's dope. And on deck, next, my boy Nick Wright, host of First Things First on Fox. It's Angel Quiles here for Blue Magazine with Mr. Nick Wright from Fox Sports 1's First Things First. And First Things First, I have to say, you look very dapper on camera, mostly all the time. I got to find out, is that something that you take home with you when you go home?
Oh, well, so my wife by trade's a stylist.
Oh, interesting.
She works for the show doing my clothes. She also is personal shopper for people for major events, or a stylist for people for major events, and so I didn't come by it naturally, but over the last 10 years we've been together, she's kind of slowly but surely built it up to where, I think I try to look good when I go out, but it's all her doing. Like, that is, she puts together anytime we're going out what I'm wearing, what she's wearing, and have it match together. And what I would say is, when I'm not working, it's a much more casual look. Like, I don't wear suits really anywhere except for the television show. Maybe blazers sometimes, but it's more of kind of I'd say more of a cool look. But always try to be put together, have shoes, match shirts, stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite designer that she's put you on to or anything like that nature?
Oh,
something that you gravitate to?
I like a lot of Ted Baker stuff.
Okay.
There's one other in particular that, when she comes back, she could remind me. There was one other real nice one that I liked. It's a little higher end, but I like a lot of the Ted Baker stuff. But I'm like, I like to wear basically either Jordans or the new LeBron 15s.
Oh, those are beautiful.
And I got those in like a half dozen colors. I probably got like 20 different pairs of the old school Jordan. So I more of like nice like G-Star jeans, Jordan or LeBron tennis shoes, track jacket to match type. Okay. You know what I mean? That's more of my regular go-to.
Okay.
And as far as the different like suits, I'm not as sophisticated on that as she is. She does a good job. She picks it out, lets me know what's what.
Does she pick out your lapel pins too? Or no?
Picks out everything.
All right.
Everything. Every single thing I'm wearing is done by her. The lapel pin. I was big on those flower lapels.
Yeah, I actually noticed that while you've been on the air. Yeah,
and so
you had a nice, beautiful violet one not too long ago.
Yes,
that I seen you with.
and so I was big on those. It seems like the style is transitioning a little bit from those more to things like this. We have a guy on our show named a contributor, a guest on our show named Chris Canty, who has a lot of really cool different lapel pins. He has like a key that's really cool. He's got a bunch of them.
Yeah, Canty's fresh. I've seen him.
Canty's a really good dresser.
Yeah.
Really good dresser. And he's got to have all his stuff super custom made. And so that's because he's 6'8". And so, but yeah, I try to, I also, the one little thing that's not through Fox or Danielle that I do is I've got 90 Sharpies of every different color that exist except for burgundy, because they have, for some reason, they don't make a burgundy felt tip Sharpie. And I match the Sharpie to my tie every day. And so like that was something Digger Phelps used to do that with his highlighter.
Oh really?
But I did this independent of that. So like every day you'll see the Sharpie that I'm holding either matches the tie directly or matches a stroke in the tie.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Now, Nick, I mean, obviously you're an avid sports lover. I mean, what sparked your interest and love for what you do right now?
I mean, I would say until I was 9 or 10, I was really convinced I was going to play in the NBA.
Okay.
And I remember being a little kid riding around with my dad and telling him I thought I was going to be Moses Malone of all people. And I think by the time I was, maybe it was 7 or 8, I was convinced I was going to play. 9 or 10, I wasn't so sure. And by 11, 12, I was like, that probably ain't going to happen. Yeah. And so to me, the next best thing was to talk about the games, to cover the games, to be a part of the league and pro sports that way. So when I was 12 years old, I was fortunate enough to meet Bob Costas, and I asked him where he went to school, what he did. And he told me he went to Syracuse, worked at a place at Syracuse called WAER, and he and I actually stayed in contact the entirety of my childhood from there moving forward. And that was just, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Syracuse. I'm going to work at WAER, and it was the only school I applied to. And I went there, and by the time I was done there, I was running, it's a professional radio station on the student campus. I was running the talk show department of WAER, and I got, a few days after graduation, I started at a radio station in my hometown, 610 in Kansas City, hosting on the weekends and producing during the week. And over the course of 5 years in Kansas City, I did weekends to nights to middays to afternoons. I then got hired by a radio station in Houston in 2012 to do mornings. I did mornings there for 4 years. And then in April of 2016, Fox hired me to come go on other people's TV shows, fill in for Colin Cowherd on his show, be a guest there. And then Chris and I started our show. So that was in LA. We moved to New York about 11 months ago. And then we started this show this past Labor Day.
Now, that program at Syracuse is really tough to get into. Was there ever a time in your life where you felt like quitting and you felt like you couldn't do it?
No.
You were confident about the whole process. You knew that's what you wanted.
Yeah, and that's not to sound like arrogant. It was the only school I applied to for a reason. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. Missouri's got a really good journalism school. They're more television journalism than radio, and I was focused on radio at the time. But I didn't apply to Missouri. I'm in an odd stroke. Both my parents have graduate degrees from Harvard, and due to their legacy admittance and how I did on my SATs, I almost assuredly would have gotten into Harvard. I didn't apply because I only wanted to go to Syracuse. And I'm very, very blessed in that I've got my mom, my dad, my sister all have. 2 of them have law degrees. The one that doesn't have a law degree is my mother, who is Vassar, Johns Hopkins, Harvard Business School. So they all have postgraduate degrees. They're all high achievers. Wow, and I only say that. I don't say that to brag or anything. I only say that because, but it's, if I was not going to go to graduate school, I was going to not do something. My dad ran the Kansas City Firefighters Union for 30 years, really helping people. My sister worked at I believe it was the National Organization of Women. She worked with a women's advocacy group in New York City and helped get the statute of limitations on sexual abuse removed in New York State. So if I'm going to do something that is, let's be honest, kind of meaningless, talk about sports, it's all make-believe, it's all pretend, the only way I could, and not get extra degrees and stuff, the only way I could justify that is if I was going to do it to the highest level possible. I mean, that's why I loved Kansas City. That's where I'm from, to where I was on the radio there. By the time I was, would have been 2012. So by the time I was 27, I was hosting arguably the most popular sports show in Kansas City. I could have stayed there forever. I had my wife, and she wasn't my wife at the time, my fiance at the time. We were there. I could have bought a house and stayed there. But I wanted to see the highest level I could do this. And so I've always had an end point in mind. I've always had what my perceived finish line is in mind. And every professional decision I've made has been which gets me closer to there. So I went from Kansas City, a place I loved, to Houston, a place I wasn't comfortable. My first day setting foot in the state of Texas was the job interview in Houston. And I did that not because I wanted to stay in Houston, but because you can't get to national platforms from Kansas City. You can get there from Houston. And so, no, I think there's too many people that want to do this because, listen, we watch games for a living. We talk about games for a living. And I obviously didn't play at a high level. So there's a lot of people trying to do what I'm doing. And so if you are not dead set in your conviction and your work ethic, there's no path to it. So if I ever doubted that I wanted to do this, it would have meant I'm not supposed to do this. It's the only thing I've ever considered doing was sports broadcasting. I always thought it would be radio. It was radio for college and then 9 years after college, and now it's television. But it's the same, a lot of the same steps.
Yeah.
But no, you asked my mom's friends when I was growing up, the time I was 13 years old, I'd say this is what I was going to do.
How did you feel the first time you went on live TV?
So that's a good, when was the first, I guess the first time I was on live TV was in Kansas City, probably 2011, on a local station, reacting to the Chiefs draft. It's weird. I'd be lying if I didn't say there was some nerves the first time I was on FS1, the first time I was on national TV. But I'm an odd guy in that I am much more anxious. The most anxious I've been all day was the elevator ride up here. I'm much more socially anxious than I am on doing my job. I'm very comfortable doing my job. I don't know why. I've always felt at home either on the radio or on television. It's a place to me of utmost honesty. It's a place of utmost comfort. I always, the one thing, listen, I tell my kids all the time, I didn't play sports at a high level. I don't have a great radio voice. I don't have a great television face. The way I've gotten to where I am is just pure determination and work ethic. And I say that to say, I think people are typically most nervous if they're worried they're not prepared. It's hard for me to be unprepared. And so I'm always prepared for it. Now, there are things that catch you off guard. There are moments you can be better, but I'm not, nerves are not, I deal with there are other drawbacks for me or other weaknesses for me. Nerves or anxiety about once I'm on the air doesn't really exist. Anxiety before the show, anxiety the night before, what are we talking about, how am I going to do it? But once the show starts, as long as I can remember, I'm very at ease or at peace.
Now you mentioned that your sister was she's a socially conscious individual, and I noticed that about you as well. What do you think is one of the biggest things that force is facing right now in terms of social consciousness? One of the biggest issues
in the sports world.
In the sports world, yeah.
America's race problem. I like to consider myself a student of history, particularly U.S. history, from Reconstruction through the Civil Rights Act. And if you have any study in American history, you know that, like, while in England it's class is the issue, or in Europe I should say it's probably class. In India it's a caste system. America's, it's a race issue. And any country that supercharged its ability, because we're still a young country, into world superpower through unpaid slave labor, is going to have a race issue. And we've never, in my opinion, honestly and truly dealt with it. There's a long answer, I apologize.
No, it's okay, please.
The reason that I tried to focus some of my area of study on Reconstruction is that's the closest we came right after the Civil War. That was that
to mending fences,
and to giving people a fair shot. But almost all the progress of Reconstruction was undone shortly thereafter with the Jim Crow era, and people don't get that. People don't understand that until the mid 60s it was legal to discriminate in housing against black people in this country. People don't understand that when we talk about crime in inner cities, well, that's not an accident. Like, if you remove jobs and schools from a certain area and say that's the only area of a city black people can live because if they move into any other area, the whole neighborhood will be redlined, and so they've been forced out of it. Like, that was my parents' generation. And so that we've only even come close to giving, and I'm not acting like black people are the only minority race that deals with this, but that's probably more my area of study. We've only given black Americans even close to a fair shake for 35 or 40 years in this country.
Thank you for tuning in to the Angel of Words podcast. I really hope you enjoyed my interview with Nick Wright, host of First Things First on Fox Sports. He's a real big inspiration to me and has motivated me to actually do what I'm doing right now. If you want to continue following the Angel of Words podcast, click the notification bell on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Angel of Words ENT. You could also follow me on any of my social media platforms at Angel of Words ENT. That is Angel, ANGEL, OFWORDS ENT. I really look forward to doing more podcasts and entertaining you guys. So please take care, and I will talk to you later.